Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hello and welcome once again to another quick shot review. We're following on from Saw X with another film in the horror genre, another remake, another sequel, whatever you want to call it. This, however, is actually a sequel, a direct sequel to the original. Now, I think that's criminal. Not because of Exorcist 2, The Heretic, but Exorcist 3 is actually a really good film. And dispelling that film is sacrilege. So David Gordon Green, tut, tut, tut. As I've already mentioned, David Gordon Green does direct this film, and he doesn't recapture what made his first Halloween film so good. That was a direct sequel to the original, which is absolutely fine. But they kept the lore, they kept the character really, really well. Now, this Exorcist is obviously more difficult to do a direct sequel for because of how great the original is. Now, I'm not saying Halloween is not great, because it is, but Exorcist had something. And once the demon was gone, why is it coming back? Obviously, there is arguments there that, it could come back, but sadly, it's not captured in this film. I'll go into details as to why a little later on in this quick shot review. It is a goal of mine to give you my thoughts on films I go and see without giving spoilers, but doing it in a sort of quick way, and hence the quick shot name. And I can't believe we're almost at 250 film reviews since 2020. That's crazy. Absolutely nuts, in fact. But we are, and that's cool. And most of those have been at the cinema, which is even better, isn't it? Anyway, just going to give you the blurb. It is 2023 and it's released in 2023. It is a 15 rated film and is around 1 hour and 50 minutes long. And the official blurb is: when two girls disappear into the woods and return 3 days later with no memory of what happened to them, the father of one girl seeks out Chris McNeil, of course, the mother of the original Exorcist girl Reagan, who's been forever altered by what happened to her daughter 50 years ago. And it is 50 years, since the original Exorcist was released. So, as I mentioned, David Gordon Green does direct. He was famous for reiterating reimagining, recapturing the magic of Halloween with Halloween. Unfortunately, Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends is not as good as that first one, but that is how you have to take it. Anyway, the screenplay is by Peter Settler and David Gordon Green, and of course David Gordon Green directs, which I've already mentioned. So, Where to start? Right, so the first thing here is they try and change things by having two young ladies who are possessed by a demon. I did really like the idea that these two young ladies disappeared and trod the path of Christ, the path of the righteous man, righteous person, whatever, um, in the fact that they explained it as when Jesus died on the cross, he trod through hell to assert his dominance over the kingdom of hell. And the two girls come back with burns on their feet. They disappeared for 3 days. They did appear in a random barn, which was never really explored as to why they were in that particular barn. Um, that was never touched upon again, which I thought was quite weird. Even if the farmer turned up to the hospital to see if they were okay, you know what I mean? It's like it just seems really weird that that wasn't explored. Um, a good thing about this film is the makeup. The makeup is absolutely phenomenal, and the two young ladies played by Olivia O'Neill um, and Lydia Jewett are brilliant, absolutely brilliant. They do a really, really, really good job of acting the part, and they do a really good job of capturing the original Exorcist in their performances. But that is where it falls down for me. It tries to be too much like The Exorcist, and it's difficult to know where this will go because uh, David Gordon Green, has already got two more films in this trilogy of films to direct, and with the next one coming out in 2026, I believe, and yeah, it's hard to know where this one will go because much like this one couldn't really directly follow the original, and it follows the same path. It's basically the same film, only worse. How are they going to do another two of these without retreading the same ground? And it just makes me wonder. You know, obviously they paid a lot to get the rights to this, and they're just sort of churning out the films, but it's a damn shame because it's ruining the legacy of the original. The original is phenomenal. And I didn't want to go into this one comparing it to the original, but it being a direct sequel, it has to be. There's so much in here to like, but there's even more to dislike. There's also, we only get one sort of fleshed out parent, really, in the shape of uh, Leslie Odom Jr. playing Victor. Um, and the opposite to that is Norbert Leo Butz as Tony, who is the father of uh, Miranda. And but the second character is just not fleshed out enough for me. There's only one ending to this, and that is that one of the girls is going to be sacrificed. And you can guess which one before the film is even past the half-hour mark. Um, there are some really strong, really effective scenes in this film. The scene in the church is really, really good. and obviously, if you've seen the trailer, you will have seen that one. But for the first sort of 40-50 minutes, it's methodically introduced. It's well directed. It's well cut. The music score is really good. A couple of jump scares in there, and that's my issue. Exorcist is not a jump scare film, and it shouldn't just build up to a crescendo in the third act. The whole point of The Exorcist, the whole reason that The Exorcist was so good, is because you had a priest who was questioning his belief in God, in his beliefs, and that it's introduced, the demons introduced slowly. At first, they're just doing tests on Reagan. In this one, it's 0 to 60, and it doesn't work. You know, as soon as it's there, and then for the second two acts, the second act and the third act, you know what's going to happen. The original, the reason it worked so well is because they fought the demon all the way through the film, basically. For 3/4 of the film, the original film, they were trying and failing until eventually they did come good. And that's what made it good, because you wanted them to win. This one, though, like I say, introduces some really good things. The fact that they bring in the walk through hell, the burnt feet, the idea that exorcism is not just something in Christianity, but it's something that spans all religion, and bringing all of the religions together to fight this demon was a stroke of genius. There is one scene that troubles me, and it's very supernatural, and I still don't quite get it, but I get where why they're using it. It's still fresh in people's memories, that program, and it's a good program, to be fair. Does this film work? For me, no. For some people, it will do, and obviously, if you want to go and see it, go and see it. It's not as bad as Beginning. It's not as good as Exorcist 3. It's definitely not as bad as Exorcist 2, which is awful. But David Gordon Green, and any director, to be fair to David Gordon Green, would struggle to recapture how great that original film is. And therefore, they need to leave The Exorcist alone. They need to get some new ideas. I mean, at least the Pope's Exorcist, although basically The Exorcist did try something new, you know? But this one, yeah, I think the idea that it had two victims in it kind of took away from the story. If it was following one, if the demon had chose one of the girls, then it would have been much better. You would have been easier to follow, and root for the girl to be saved, and for the parents and stuff. Well, because this one had two, it was difficult to follow. It should be said that Ellen Burstyn does come back as Chris McNeil, and there is a short scene with Linda Blair, obviously Reagan. And that is pretty much it. If you want to go and see it, go and see it. If not, then don't. But do go and see something at the cinema. It's the bread and butter of the film industry. And I'm going to leave you there.
And I'll see you next time, Cheap Shot Nation. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.
Hiya. Hiya.